Welcome to Serial Killers Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Carter. The name Tiago Gomes da Rocha may not ring a bell for many, an obscurity that belies the staggering magnitude of his gruesome deeds. As we delve deeper into the life of this man, what emerges is a chilling portrait of a predator who lurked in the shadows of society, his presence felt only through the trail of lives he left behind. In the quiet hours of the night, da Rocha would mount his motorcycle, donning a helmet to conceal his identity, and set out in search of his victims. Women were his primary targets, unsuspecting souls who never foresaw what lay ahead. Their lives would be mercilessly snuffed out by a man who, for reasons we may never fully understand, harbored a deep-seated hatred for life itself. Born in a small town in Brazil, da Rocha's life was marked by turbulence from an early age. His parents separated when he was just a toddler. Struggling to adjust to his new circumstances, he soon found himself embroiled in a life of petty crime. As he grew older, his crimes escalated in their severity. What began as theft and mugging slowly but surely transformed into a penchant for something far more sinister: murder. As we delve into the psyche of da Rocha, we must face the stark reality of a man who, by his own admission, killed for pleasure. He once told a courtroom, "I got pleasure from them, and this gave me relief," chilling words that revealed the depth of his depravity. His victims were primarily young women, often selected at random, their lives cut short by a man who felt no remorse, no empathy. Authorities would later reveal that da Rocha, in his ruthless pursuit of pleasure, murdered a staggering 39 people over a 6-year period. He was a man who lived in the shadows, his true nature concealed by the anonymity of his helmet and the darkness of the night. His arrest in 2014 brought an end to his reign of terror, but the memories of his monstrous deeds continue to haunt the streets he once prowled. The case of Tiago Gomes da Rocha is a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks within some souls. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that such evil exists, hidden sometimes in plain sight, capable of the most horrifying acts of violence. As we delve further into da Rocha's life and the circumstances that shaped him into the monster he became, we find ourselves grappling with questions of nature versus nurture, the roots of evil, and the thin line that separates man from monster. In the heartland of Brazil, nestled among the sprawling grasslands, lies the city of Goiânia, a place vibrantly alive with the spirit of Brazilian culture. The colors of the city are vibrant and energetic, its streets often filled with the rhythmic samba beats and the tantalizing smells of traditional Brazilian food. The people of Goiânia are known for their warmth and hospitality, their smiles as radiant as the city itself. But beneath this lively facade, the city holds a darker story, a chilling narrative that is as much a part of its history as its vibrant culture. In the early 2000s, when da Rocha's reign of terror began, Goiânia was undergoing rapid urbanization. A city that was once a tranquil town was fast becoming a bustling metropolis. The population surged, as did the city's crime rate. Amidst this rising tide of criminal activity, da Rocha found his hunting ground. The social climate during these years was marked by a growing divide between the rich and the poor. The rapid urbanization had created a stark contrast between the affluent neighborhoods and the impoverished favelas. This inequality, coupled with a struggling economy and rampant corruption, created an environment ripe for crime. It was during this period that the city's streets began to whisper tales of a motorcycle-riding killer. The first killings were dismissed as random acts of violence, not uncommon in a city grappling with crime. But as the body count rose, a pattern began to emerge. The victims were all women, often young and vulnerable. Their bodies bore the grim signature of a single killer, a stab wound to the neck. A veil of fear hung over the city as the killings continued, seemingly unstoppable. The police were left scrambling, their efforts to catch the killer proving fruitless. The murderer, who would later be identified as da Rocha, moved through the city like a phantom, striking fear into the hearts of its residents with his random yet calculated acts of violence. In the midst of this terror, da Rocha managed to walk among his fellow citizens undetected. He was, by all appearances, a typical resident of Goiânia, leading a seemingly normal life. But beneath this mask of normality, he nurtured a monstrous appetite for violence. Da Rocha's reign of terror cast a long, ominous shadow over Goiânia. It tainted the city's lively spirit, replacing the rhythm of samba with the echoes of fear. The vibrant streets became a backdrop for a horrifying tale of a murderous spree, a chilling paradox that continues to haunt the city even today. The city of Goiânia and its people, who were unknowingly living alongside a monster, provide a stark backdrop to Da Rocha's morbid story. As we delve further into his life and his chilling crimes, we are left to ponder the disturbing reality of how such darkness can exist beneath the veneer of vibrant city life. The victims of Tiago Gomes da Rocha's brutal spree were often young women who lived on the margins of society, vulnerable and defenseless. These women, for whom life had already dealt a challenging hand, found themselves pitted against a predator who exploited their vulnerability with ruthless precision. One of the earliest victims was a teenage girl named Gabriela Prado. Known for her vivacious spirit and infectious laughter, Gabriela was a beacon of light in the harsh realities of the favelas. In May 2012, her life was brutally cut short. Her body was found in a desolate alley, her throat cut, a single stab wound that echoed the fate of many more to come. In the months that followed, more women fell prey to the same brutal clinical method of murder. Beatriz de Oliveira, a street vendor and a single mother, was one of them. Found dead in a narrow alleyway, Beatriz's death sent waves of fear rippling through the city. The precision of the attack, the singular stab wound, pointed to the same hands that had taken Gabriela Prado's life. The victims weren't limited to women, however. Young men who found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time also became targets. Among them was Juliano de Oliveira, a teenager known for his passion for football, who was working late shifts at a local restaurant to support his family. One night in November 2012, Juliano failed to return home from work. His body was found the next morning, bearing the now infamous signature stab wound. As the body count rose, so too did the fear. The city was gripped by a collective dread that seemed to grow with each passing day. The random yet targeted nature of the attacks left everyone feeling vulnerable. The killer struck with such unpredictable precision that it was as if he were both everywhere and nowhere, a ghostly presence haunting the city's streets. Despite the growing panic, the police seemed helpless against the onslaught. The lack of evidence at the crime scenes, coupled with the seemingly random selection of victims, made it difficult to build a case or even develop a solid lead. The city was in the grip of a phantom killer, one who seemed to know exactly how to strike and then vanish without a trace. Meanwhile, Tiago Gomes da Rocha continued to live his double life, unnoticed and undeterred. As the city descended into a state of terror, he remained hidden in plain sight, his sinister secret well kept. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, walking among his potential victims undetected. The first wave of Tiago Gomes da Rocha's reign of terror had begun, and the city of Goiânia was caught in its chilling grasp. The vibrant, bustling city had been transformed into a hunting ground, its streets echoing with fear and uncertainty. The once lively samba rhythms were replaced by the ominous beat of a city held hostage by a ruthless killer. As the death toll continued to rise, the police force in Goiânia found themselves under increasing pressure to catch the killer. The media was awash with stories of the murders, and public fear was palpable. A task force was established to solve the case, pooling resources from different departments and bringing in seasoned investigators. This marked a new level of urgency in the hunt for the elusive killer. Initially, the police were at a loss. The crime seemed random, devoid of any clear motive. The killer did not steal from his victims, nor did he sexually assault them. His method of killing was always the same: a single lethal stab wound. The lack of any discernible pattern made the task of profiling the killer extremely challenging. But in the face of public outcry, the authorities had to show progress. As more victims were discovered, investigators began to notice similarities in their profiles. Many were young, attractive, and led active social lives. This was a break in the case, a potential pattern that could lead them to the killer. The police started to formulate a profile of the killer, someone who was likely a social outcast, filled with resentment towards those who were outgoing and popular. While the police were intensifying their efforts to catch the killer, Tiago Gomes da Rocha was tightening his grip on the city. With each passing day, his confidence grew. His attacks became more brazen, his targets more random. He was no longer just targeting young women, but now men too. His reign of terror was expanding, plunging the city further into fear. Meanwhile, the task force was working around the clock, following every lead, no matter how small. They sifted through mountains of evidence, interviewed countless potential witnesses, and meticulously analyzed crime scene photos. It was a painstaking process, but they were fueled by a determination to bring the killer to justice. Forensic analysis of the crime scenes revealed that the killer was likely right-handed, based on the angle of the stab wounds. Further, a psychological profile suggested the killer was likely a loner, socially awkward, and possibly harboring a deep-seated anger towards society. Despite these breakthroughs, the identity of the killer remained a mystery. With each new victim, the pressure on the task force intensified. The city was gripped by fear, and the authorities were desperate for a break in the case. The hunt for the elusive killer known as Tiago Gomes da Rocha was in full swing, but the end was not yet in sight. The city of Goiânia, once a bustling urban center, was now living in the chilling shadow of an unknown terror. The question of who the killer could be remained to be a menacing specter that hung over the city. The police were determined, yet frustration was mounting. There were several suspects initially, mostly local men with criminal records and a history of violent behavior. However, none of these leads panned out. The elusive nature of the killer, his unpredictability, and his increasing audacity made it difficult to zero in on a credible suspect. It was around this time that the authorities decided to delve deeper into the psychological profile of the killer. They enlisted the help of renowned forensic psychologists, hoping to gain insight into the mind of the murderer. The psychologists posited that the killer likely had a history of violence, perhaps even stemming from childhood. This violent behavior could have escalated over time, leading to the heinous acts of murder. The psychologists also suggested that the killer might have been a victim of social isolation and ostracism, leading to feelings of resentment and anger. This could explain the indiscriminate nature of his attacks, targeting anyone who represented the society that had rejected him. His victims, young and socially active, were a stark contrast to his own life, further fueling his resentment. Furthermore, they hinted at the possibility of the killer having antisocial personality disorder, a mental condition where a person consistently shows no regard for right and wrong, ignores the rights and feelings of others, and often manipulates or treats others harshly for personal gain. This could explain the seemingly senseless violence, the absence of remorse, and the continued killing spree despite the increasing police presence and public outcry. Yet, these were mere hypotheses, educated guesses at best. The real challenge lay in applying this profile to identify the actual killer. The task force faced the daunting task of sifting through the city's population, looking for someone who fit this profile. It was akin to finding a needle in a haystack. But the authorities were undeterred. They knew that every crime, no matter how meticulously planned or randomly executed, leaves a trail. And it was this trail that they were determined to follow. They believed that the psychological profile they had formulated would eventually lead them to the killer. They intensified their efforts, bolstering their ranks and doubling down on their investigative tactics. Tiago Gomes da Rocha, however, remained ever elusive, a ghost in the dark corners of the city. His reign of terror continued unabated. Each new victim was a chilling reminder of the menace that lurked in the shadows, a deadly game of cat and mouse that had gripped the city in its chilling grasp. The hunt for the killer was proving to be a monumental challenge, a test of the city's resolve, and a race against time. Considerable time and effort went into the collection and analysis of forensic evidence. The authorities painstakingly gathered and catalogued everything they could find from the crime scenes. They scoured for fingerprints, collected samples for DNA analysis, and meticulously documented each scene with photographs and detailed notes. The breakthrough came with the discovery of a firearm, a .38 caliber revolver, discarded near one of the crime scenes. Ballistics tests confirmed it was the same weapon used in the murders. This discovery provided a vital link to the perpetrator, but identifying the owner of the weapon was a hurdle they still needed to overcome. In the meantime, DNA analysis was being conducted on samples collected from the crime scenes. Though the killer was careful, he was not perfect. Minute traces of DNA were found and collected. The process of matching it was painstaking and time-consuming, but the forensic team was relentless. Simultaneously, witness testimonies began to pour in. People came forward with accounts of suspicious activities, of shadowy figures seen lurking, of strange noises heard in the night. Each piece of information was carefully recorded and cross-referenced, gradually building a fuller picture of the killer's habits and movements. One particularly valuable testimony came from a motorbike taxi driver. He recalled a frequent passenger who would ask to be dropped off in the vicinity of the crime scenes. He was able to provide a detailed description, which matched the profile developed by the psychologists. While the authorities were making headway, Tiago Gomes da Rocha was growing increasingly erratic. His killing spree escalated, and he began to take greater risks, which inevitably led to mistakes. After one such reckless murder, he left behind a crucial piece of evidence: a glove. The glove was quickly sent to the forensic lab where it was thoroughly examined. To their relief, it yielded a complete fingerprint, which was promptly cross-referenced with the police database. Unfortunately, there was no immediate match, but this was not a dead end. The fingerprint was a significant lead, a tangible link to the killer. Concurrently, the DNA analysis finally bore fruit. A match was found linking the DNA samples to a person with a minor criminal record, a certain Tiago Gomes da Rocha. Suddenly, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The profile, the witness descriptions, the ballistics evidence, the DNA, and the fingerprint, everything pointed towards one individual. The authorities now had a name and a face to match their psychological profile. The phantom haunting the city had a name: Tiago Gomes da Rocha. But even with this breakthrough, they were aware that the hardest part was yet to come. Catching this elusive criminal would be no easy task. Nevertheless, they were one step closer to ending his reign of terror. Tiago Gomes da Rocha's reign of terror finally met its end on October 14, 2014. A late-night police raid was conducted on his residence, resulting in his arrest. Rocha was caught off guard, in stark contrast to the fear and control he had exerted over his victims. His capture was met with a collective sigh of relief from the public, a palpable easing of the tension that had gripped the city. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was fraught with anxiety, anticipation, and a desperate need for justice. The proceedings began on June 25, 2015. As Rocha was led in, the air grew dense with the weight of his crimes. His seemingly ordinary appearance belied the monstrous acts he had committed. Faces in the courtroom bore a mixture of shock, curiosity, and revulsion as the man responsible for such heinous deeds stood before them. The prosecution presented a meticulous case, weaving together the intricate tapestry of evidence that had led to Rocha's arrest. The glove, the DNA, the ballistic evidence, and witness testimonies were all presented, along with the psychological profile that had initially guided investigators. Each piece of evidence was a damning testament to Rocha's guilt. Throughout the trial, Rocha remained largely impassive, his face an inscrutable mask. The only time he showed any emotion was when the verdict was announced. On September 23, 2016, Rocha was found guilty on 39 counts of murder, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in Brazilian history. Upon hearing the verdict, Rocha's mask finally slipped, revealing a glimpse of the terror he had inflicted on others. The public reaction to Rocha's conviction was a mixture of relief, horror, and vindication. The city that had been held in a grip of fear could finally begin to heal. The families of the victims, while forever marked by their loss, could find some small solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. Meanwhile, The legal and mental health communities were left grappling with the implications of Rocha's crimes. Therapists, criminologists, and legal experts found themselves questioning how such a seemingly ordinary man could commit such monstrous acts. Rocha's case triggered a renewed focus on the understanding and prevention of such extreme forms of violence. His trial served as a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that can lurk beneath the surface of normality, sparking a widespread call for a deeper understanding of the psychological underpinnings of such behavior. Yet, amidst the shock and horror, the resilience of the human spirit shone through. The city and the families of the victims refused to be defined by the terror Rocha had inflicted. They chose instead to remember the lives that had been lost, to uplift their stories, and to stand together in the face of adversity. Rocha's reign of terror had ended, but the resilience of those he had harmed would continue to reverberate, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. Understanding the psychological motivations and past traumas of Tiago Gomes da Rocha can be a daunting task, yet it is central to dissecting how this seemingly ordinary man could become a serial killer. The psychological underpinnings of Rocha's behavior were complex and multifaceted, intertwined with his personal history and social environment. From a psychological perspective, Rocha's behavior bears the hallmarks of psychopathy, a personality disorder characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, impaired empathy and remorse, and bold, disinhibited, and egotistical traits. Psychiatrists who evaluated Rocha noted these characteristics, pointing to his lack of remorse or empathy for his victims, his manipulative behavior, and his apparent enjoyment of the power he wielded over the lives of others. Rocha's past was also marked by trauma. Growing up in a poor and violent neighborhood in Goiânia, Rocha was exposed to crime and violence from a young age. His mother, a drug addict, neglected him, and his father, a violent man, physically abused him. These early experiences likely played a crucial role in shaping Rocha's personality, instilling in him a sense of powerlessness and a deep-seated anger that would later manifest in his violent actions. Yet, it's important to note that many individuals experience similar hardships and do not become serial killers. Therefore, it's hypothesized that Rocha may have had a genetic predisposition to violence that was triggered by his traumatic past. This combination of nature and nurture is a common thread in the narrative of many serial killers. One aspect of Rocha's psychology that is particularly chilling is his ability to compartmentalize his actions. In his daily life, he was an unassuming security guard, seemingly blending into society. Yet beneath this facade, he harbored a dark alter ego, one that found pleasure in the terror and pain of others. This duality is a common trait in psychopaths, allowing them to hide in plain sight and avoid detection. Rocha's motivations for killing were likely multidimensional, driven by a complex interplay of psychological, social, and biological factors. His actions seem to have been driven by a desire for power and control, a thirst for inflicting pain, and a complete disregard for the value of human life. In the end, understanding Rocha's psychological makeup and motivations does not excuse his actions. It does, however, offer valuable insights into the complex factors that can lead an individual down such a dark path, providing crucial information that can be used to prevent similar acts of violence in the future. The exploration of Rocha's psyche serves as a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity, but also of the importance of understanding the human mind in all its complexity. In the aftermath of Tiago Gomes da Rocha's trial and subsequent conviction, an eerie hush descended upon the city of Goiânia. The terror that had gripped its streets had an identifiable face, a name, and was safely locked away behind bars. But the scars left behind by his reign of violence ran deeper than the surface calm that followed his capture. For the survivors and the families of the victims, the haunting memory of Rocha's crimes cast a long, grim shadow. The trial, with its gruesome details and harrowing testimonies, brought little closure. The pain, the fear, the loss persisted. The victims were not just numbers on Rocha's tally, they were mothers, daughters, sisters, and their absence created a void that could never be filled. The impact on the community was profound. The sense of security that had once defined the city was shattered. Even as Rocha's capture brought a sense of relief, it was tinged with a chilling realization. Their neighbor, the quiet security guard, had been a predator, hiding in plain sight. The community was forced to grapple with the reality of the darkness that had lurked in their midst, and the question of how they had failed to see it. In the media, the case of Tiago Gomes da Rocha sparked a wave of analysis and introspection. His story was a somber reminder of the depths of human depravity and the complex interplay of factors that can drive an individual to such extreme violence. It highlighted the importance of understanding the human mind in all its complexity, not just as a means to comprehend such horrors, but also as a tool to prevent them. The legacy of Rocha's crimes also had implications for law enforcement and the criminal justice system. The failure to apprehend him sooner raised serious questions about the efficacy of investigation procedures. It underscored the need for more robust policing strategies, the importance of psychological profiling in criminal investigations, and the urgent necessity for better support systems for victims and their families. For the field of psychology, Rocha's case offered valuable, albeit grim, insights. His life, a tragic interplay of nature and nurture, served as a stark example of how genetic predisposition, when combined with environmental factors, can result in a chilling propensity for violence. While the exploration of Rocha's psyche could not justify his actions, it did contribute to a deeper understanding of the factors that can lead an individual down such a dark path. The story of Tiago Gomes da Rocha is a stark reminder of the darkest corners of human nature. Yet, in the wake of his reign of terror, it also served as a call to action, a call to better understand the human mind, to improve law enforcement strategies, and to create a society where such horrors are less likely to occur. This is the legacy of a man whose name will forever be synonymous with terror in the city of Goiânia. Yet, despite the extensive exploration of his life and his crimes, there remain elements of Tiago Gomes da Rocha's story that are shrouded in ambiguity. Some unresolved questions continue to haunt his narrative, casting long shadows over the understanding of his horrific actions. The potential number of Rocha's victims remains a point of contention. While Rocha confessed to 39 murders, the police could only conclusively link him to around a dozen. Discrepancies in his confessions, the lack of concrete evidence in many cases, and the fact that his claimed body count rose dramatically while in custody all contribute to an unsettling uncertainty. Could there be more victims yet unidentified, their families still waiting for answers? Or were Rocha's inflated claims a twisted effort to gain notoriety, to etch his name more deeply into the annals of crime? Another aspect of Rocha's case that remains enigmatic is his motivation. His assertion that he killed out of anger towards the world, while chilling, remains somewhat cryptic. What was the source of this intense rage? Was it solely due to his troubled upbringing and the alleged abuse he suffered? Or were there other, deeper psychological issues at play? The full extent of his motivations may never be fully understood, a haunting reminder of the unknowable depths of the human psyche. The question of how Rocha managed to evade capture for so long is another disconcerting puzzle. How did he maintain his dual life as a security guard and serial killer with such apparent ease? Did he have an uncanny ability to blend into his surroundings, to appear normal to those around him? Or does his prolonged evasion of justice point to potential shortcomings in the investigative procedures of the time? These unanswered questions amplify the chilling aura that surrounds Rocha's story. They serve as a stark reminder of the complexities of human behavior and the challenge that lies in comprehending the motives and methods of those who commit such heinous acts. Yet it is crucial to remember that the focus should not be on Rocha, but on the victims and their families who endured unimaginable suffering. Their stories, their lives, and their memories are the ones that should not be forgotten. The haunting implications of Rocha's crimes should serve as a catalyst for change, for improved law enforcement, for more robust support for victims, and for a deeper understanding of the human mind to help prevent such atrocities in the future. The story of Tiago Gomes da Rocha, while deeply unsettling, is a poignant reminder of the darkness that can lurk within humanity. but it is also a call to action, to strive for a world where such horrors are less likely to occur, where justice is swift and victims are remembered and honored. As the shadows of Rocha's deeds gradually fade into the annals of history, these are the lessons that must endure. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Serial Killers Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to Serial Killers Podcast on Spotify. Subscribe now.